All this week in the podcast, we are reclaiming your year live. So if you are here as a result of this special week-long series of episodes, well, welcome. Particularly if you've never listened to the podcast before, I'm really excited that you're here, and I hope that this week will be a blessing and a joy for you. I am Elle Edwards, your host, founder of the Faith and Business Playground. I'm here with training, coaching, and this podcast to help you be you, help you embrace your inner weirdo so you can make Jesus CEO of your life and business. But we're going to crack straight on because, I should also add, notes to self. If you're listening to this and if you're a regular listener and you're not part of the Reclaim Your Year Live experience, I would encourage you to sign up. It's faithandbusinessplayground.com/reclaim, because it's not just the podcast this week. There are emails that are going out every weekday, as with a little bit of homework each day. And then we've also going to use the Faith and Business Playground group on Facebook, so I can help you and support you, and we can chat about the direction that you're heading in as well. So it really is aiming to be as fully immersive and experienced as possible, other than inviting you around for a cup of coffee to my house, which is probably difficult from a logistics point of view. So if you're not already signed up, please do that. But we're going to go straight on with today, because today we are thinking about your perfect ordinary day. And for the purposes of all this week, I'm going to assume that you're brand new to this system that I'm introducing. If you listened in last week, you would have heard me remind you that it's a system, but it's a flexible system, because my thing is all about you being you here, and that includes when it comes to setting goals. So I have got a structure that I'm going to be taking you through this week, and encouraging you to do the work. And I would encourage you at this point, actually do it pen to paper, or if you're more of a digital person, that's fine, but actually do it. Don't just do it in your head, because I've been there. We've all, I'm sure this isn't your first time maybe of doing an experience with exercises, and there is a temptation just to write it in inverted commas in your head. The advantage of actually taking time to write things down is it does unlock an extra part of your brain. The actual physical experience of putting pen to paper, for example, and it involves an extra sense as well. So the more that we can make this an all of body experience, the better that is going to be. So that's my quick reminder for you as well. But today we're thinking about your perfect ordinary day, and I am going to assume that you haven't read my little goal setting book. So if you have read that, you get like bonus points. I know I did send out, for people who signed up, I have sent out a link to the book on Amazon, because it goes into a little bit more detail. But you're going to be able to play along this week without having listened, without having read that at all. So to be reassured. So the perfect ordinary day, I want you to think about, if every single day of your working life was about the same, what would that look like? And the reminder here is that we're not looking for birthdays or holidays or Christmas or those extra special days. Those days are wonderful and lovely. And of course, we want to bring more of the delightful feelings from those days into every single day. However, for the purposes of going through and playing with this, I want you to imagine and think about and ponder on, and then go on and write about your perfect ordinary day. Now, you can do this in two different ways, and I've tried this both ways over the years. The first time I did this exercise is the way that I usually encourage my clients to do this, is actually write out freehand in actual full long sentences. Think about where you would wake up, what time you would wake up, what would you do, where would you be? When I first played with this, I was running at the time. I'm not running now, I've got to be honest. I'm more into a bit of box fit and kettlebells. But at the time when I first did this, I was running. So my perfect ordinary day at the time was waking up to sunshine at about 6 a.m. and going for a run along the beach. Now, that isn't completely ridiculous. I do live within walking distance of the beach. But that does remind me as well, when you're doing this, you don't need to worry about the logistics of, I don't live near the beach, or I couldn't possibly do X, Y, and Z because I've got to take the children to school. I want you to dream big with this. And because we are people of faith, I want to encourage you to dream big with God. So ideally, you want to set aside some time, maybe half an hour, even an hour, make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and sit down and say, okay, God, what does this look like? And listen to those nudges that come up, because God made you, you're made in his image, and those things that light you up, they're not there by accident. So I would encourage you to do this as a collaborative process with God, because, and sitting sometimes, so just quiet, which I got to be honest, I find quite challenging. But to sit and ponder and imagine. You want to unlock your imagination and what might be possible. What would I do? So you start with the beginning of the day, like we mentioned. And then you think about the rest of the day bit by bit. Where would I have breakfast? Who would I have breakfast with? What would I do then? What would I do next? What would I be doing, from a work perspective? Where would I be doing it? Who would I be doing? Get really specific. And like I said, the first time I did this exercise, I wrote it all out by hand. And it was quite a long piece of writing. The other way you can do this, and I have done this more recently when I wanted to go back, because this is an exercise that I would encourage you to do not just one time. I mean, it's not something that I do every quarter or even every year, but at different periods when things are sort of maybe shifting a little bit and adjusting, I do go back to this. So when I went back to this more recently, I then actually approached the day and actually listed it on a time-by-time basis. What time will I wake up? Then I'll do this. So it was a bit more bullet pointy as opposed to long, proper, full sentences. Try it both ways. I mean, personally, I think there is a lot of the advantages of doing longhand is it, as you're writing, it unlocks pieces and you might realize things that you didn't even know were important to you. The disadvantage of that is that you can, if you're not careful, go into editing mode. And it's really important that you just write this. There's no right or wrong answers. You don't need to worry about your grammar. You don't need to worry about spelling mistakes. This really is for your eyes only. You don't have to share this with anybody at all if you don't want to. Just write it and see what comes up. And my quick, and I'm keeping this nice and short as ever, these weekday episodes are less than 10 minutes. But this is a very brief story for you. But I want to, by way of example of letting go of expectations, one of the things that I wrote when I first did this was how much I would love to have breakfast outside. And I live in South Wales in the UK, where it rains probably about at least half the year. So that seemed completely unrealistic, but I wrote it down anyway. And yet now we're in the process of adjusting the way our outside space and our inside space is laid out so that our dining room, double doors, out into bright sunshine. So it might not look exactly how you write it down, but just by accessing that part of your brain and unlocking the things that are important to you, you create possibility. And you don't need to worry right now as well about how this then translates into goals. We're going to get there, okay? That's just let go of that piece. For today, your homework really is to play with this. Experiment, be creative, see what comes up. And there are no right or wrong answers. You can imagine yourself breakfasting in London and then speaking in New York 2 hours later, even though that's completely mental within the remits of time and space. Suspend all your disbelief. Imagine you've got a magic wand and just go with it. Our Bible verse, as we come to the end of this, by way of encouragement for you, this is Psalm 139, verse 16. And it says, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." And I just want to remind you, as you're doing this process, as you're sitting down to do this, God knows. So if you're not sure, let go of the pressure as much as possible. I know that's easy to say, but just go, God, please help me with this. What does this look like? He knows where you are right now and the direction you want to head in. So have him be involved in this process. He wants to be involved in this process and he knows all the answers. So it's like, going into an exam where you've got someone sat next to you whispering the answers to you. How cool would that be? You wouldn't need to worry about it at all. So imagine as you're doing this, you've got your Father God sat next to you, or depending on how, how your imagination works, maybe you're sat across the sofa from Jesus with a cuppa, whatever works for you. But just relax and ease into this. Know that you are supported. And when you've done it as well, of course, because this is a fully immersive experience, come on over to the Faith and Business Playground group. I shall put a link to it in the show notes, but if you're signed up via email, of course, you'll have that in your email as well. But play with it. Let go of the expectations and just see what comes up. I'm really excited for you. We're going to crack on tomorrow then with the next part, but just give it a go. Even if you don't think you're going to do it right, just try it and see how you get on. And that's a reminder, of course, if you're listening and you haven't signed up for all of it and you want to play along properly and get the full support, faithandbusinessplayground.com/reclaim. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.